Many people have heard the name John Wycliffe, but they don't know the full story behind him. And as I've heard his story, I thought it really applies to the situation many of us are in. He advocated for the first English Bible whenever the only Bible was in Latin. And because of that, he was put under house arrest. And many of us right now under the COVID quarantine feel like we're under house arrest. But what's interesting in his story is what he did. If you look at John Wycliffe and his house arrest, what would you do whenever you're stuck at home if you're John Wycliffe? Well, what he didn't do, right, is what a lot of us have been doing the past few weeks, is a Netflix binge watch. And, I'm not judging anyone because we got to do what we got to do to survive. But what he did is he said, I'm stuck inside for 2 years. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to translate the Bible. And that's a really time-consuming thing. And he started on the first translation of the English Bible. And he didn't even finish it. He ended up dying partway through the process, but his followers ended up translating it. And that became revolutionary for the English people because it was the first time they could read it in their own language. So as we face this COVID crisis, we need to think about really the opportunity. How can we serve in this crisis? And I think that that's the real opportunity, is how do we serve? And one of the foundations I would encourage you to think about is, if you're stuck at home, how do you maintain balance? And I grew up with the idea of the food pyramid, and this is something that I've encouraged people to think about in how they use media. So the foundation of our whole life should be loving relationships, and that's really where we serve. You love God, you love others, you have a Sabbath where you can also receive. And that's kind of like exercise in the food pyramid. And then you have media for growth. So, a lot of people with this time, they're saying, I'm going to take some online courses. I'm going to read a bunch of books. I'm going to listen to some, podcasts. I'm going to get a degree. In addition to working from home. That's kind of like your fresh fruits and vegetables. So using a lot of media for growth. There's neutral media. So that's your cheap empty calories. So that's kind of like bread, rice, potatoes. So, I enjoy watching Netflix, some games, some news, but it can't be the foundation of what I'm doing. And then you can have some empty entertainment. So that's dessert. And ultimately what you're trying to do is you are trying to, stop any sort of toxic or addictive media that interferes with your relationships. So with that, I would encourage you, we have this course, free COVID-19 course for nonprofits and ministries. There's a lot of resources for anyone. I would encourage you to take that and find what would be useful for you. Thanks a lot. And if you find this useful, please pass it on to your friends.